This episode was taken from a previous live stream. Please subscribe to Ask Us Live next time on Pass the Remote. The topic for today, starting off, because I think it's a great segue, LG QNED Brightness. And I know we're going to get the measurements sooner or later, but I thought it'd be fun to look and predict how well the QNED90 and the 99 will perform based on its predicted brightness. Now, we don't have the brightness specs necessarily, but we have something that I think is pretty close. And you guys tell me, this is a fun prediction, right? There's a correlation between energy consumption and brightness to a certain degree, right? Sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're off, but then relative to each other, I think this is kind of interesting to see. This is taken off that yellow sticker that's on the TVs or that's on the Best Buy if you go there. And this is the QNED90 on the bottom, 189 watts. So looking at this, just this alone, the correlation tells me that it could be bright because the QN90A is also only 200 kilowatt hours, not too far off. But the fact that it's below the Sony X95J and the Hisense U8G is outrageously consuming a lot of energy, which I don't know. Maybe it's being honest. Remember, Samsung got in trouble for being too aggressive, and they had to go back and firmware strip down the brightness on the the Q90T last year, and people got all upset. So these may be inaccurate, but still, it looks to me that the QNED90 may not be too bright. And the reason I'm throwing this out there is this. This is why. Assuming that LG is consistent with the way they calculate it, right? What I think is cool is this. The QNED99 is more energy or less energy efficient than the Samsung Q900A. So I think you're going to get a pretty bright TV. And this is my prediction. I think that Brand is going to look at his TV and go, wow, this is brighter than the QN900A, 90A, whatnot, right? But I don't know. I think you'll be kind of disappointed, Classy. Prediction. So I look forward to seeing what you guys see next week. But I think it's just kind of fun to look at the energy consumption numbers. But what I'm really interested in seeing, though, is if the QNED99 performs as well as it could with that level of brightness that arguably could be brighter than the 900A, you're getting that level for $3,500 at launch. Now, the 4,500 is what it's priced currently, right? The Samsung. So it might drop a bit, and this 3,500 may drop a bit, but I think that this is kind of interesting to think about. What are your thoughts on what you expect to see next week with your various QNEDs?
I'd have to say, first of all, you come up with the coolest things. I don't even know where you got that. That's kudos for getting that put together, because that's pretty cool. And the first thing that jumped out at me was that Hisense, man, that's inefficient. But it's also pretty crazy that the QN90A and the X90J are very similar, because the Samsung's twice as well. It's not twice as bright, but it's much brighter. And it's efficient. Yeah, it's basically twice as bright, because people always say a full screen brightness or real scene brightness, but it realistically, whatever. But yeah, that's interesting, and it's definitely interesting that the 8K version is more than twice as it eats up twice as much energy as the 4K.
But then if you look at ratings measurements, it's not really brighter than the 4K. And that's what I've been trying to tell people is just to get it as bright as the 4K version of the same TV, man, they're going to put out so much energy, but it's not significantly brighter. And so a lot of people are saying, well, why, shouldn't I get an 8K? They want to justify getting 8K. And yeah, you're pushing up the hill, so to speak, right? The physics hill to overcome all of those barriers. But now, this doesn't mean that the QNED90 will be a bad performer. I'm just looking at the energy usage, trying to predict the brightness, because as you guys know, just because the TV isn't bright doesn't mean it'll be a bad image. What QNED or what the NanoCell had been really suffering from is bad contrast. Not so much that it's super dim, but dim and the contrast is so the IPS. So I'm hoping Mini LED overcomes that. And Brad brings up a good point. Maybe with the Mini LEDs, they will be brighter and consume less energy. This is maybe a little bit more relevant for you guys here. This is the QNED90 energy consumption, right? $23 a year. We already know it gets maybe a little bit brighter than the X90J or whatnot. Right. But here we have a competing TV. And I haven't shared its consumption or haven't shared this model yet, but I think price-wise, it's going to be going head-to-head with the QNED90, both in terms of pricing, but quality, reputation, and it's none other than the X95J. Now, as Brad said, this is a great segue. He says that mini LEDs will be more efficient. So here we have the X95J. It's less efficient. Can it get brighter than the mini LED? Because you're spending more on energy. It may end up being dimmer than the QNED90. We know what the brightness are in China, right? We had the discussion last week. And so it'll be about 1300 nits. Do you guys think that the QNED90 will be brighter than the X95J, far above 1300 nits, 14 or 15, the same or lower? What are your predictions? I'm going to go with Brad and say mini LED, efficiency, not more bright, but as bright. I don't think the QNED90 will be brighter than the X95J. I think 1300 nits is where it'll be. And we'll go down the list. KG, what do you think?
Yeah, I tend to go around that same range too. I think it's going to be very close to like the QN85A. It feels like that is where the sweet spot is for them. It seems like that's what they're competing against too. Like if you look at the way they're pricing it, it seems to be lining up directly against the QN85A. And then the fact that it's an IPS panel too, that has nothing to do with how bright it can get, but it does seem like I would be expecting around maybe 1500 nits max. I don't expect it to be like up there with 2000 or anything, but the 8K, I definitely expect that to be a little higher for sure.
So you'll be really bright, but what do you think the 90 will be at, Brandon?
It's tough, man. I mean, I've had, we've been talking. Listen, I want it to be awesome. I want every TV to be awesome. Like I got no ego, man. You put a good TV in front of me and I'm going to like be happy about it. Like I like TVs, but I'll have to see them because it's been a little disappointing in the past with LG LED TVs. So I'm excited. Classy's got that one. I mean, he probably might have a pretty good idea of it too. What do you think, Classy?
It's coming on Tuesday, right?
Yeah. And the QN90A and the QNED90 were showing roughly the same energy. Mm-hmm. So, and they're the same technology. So I think that's the comparable thing right there. Maybe was that 5% difference or less? So the X90J is old tech. Like it's not going to be as efficient. The U8G, I don't know why it's so high, but I mean, it's also a budget brand.
Yeah, so. That's like Chinese brand. I think it's just like they don't care.
It's short-circuiting somewhere, right?
Yeah. I wonder, you know what? That Hisense gets hot, dude. My Hisense gets hot.
There you go.
They get
burning
hot.
up.
So
there you go.
Something. It's not efficient anyways.
Yeah, so I if I had to guess, I'm going to guess that the QNED90 is just barely below the 90A, just above the 85A. And I'm going to think when the zones have to turn on for the detail, then however dark it can get, it won't be as dark as the QN90A. But when all the zones are off, or whichever zones are off, then they're off and they're zero. So, I mean, there's going to be some areas that are black. But then anytime the zones have to turn on, they're not, at least in my prediction, they're not going to be as dark as the QN90A. The question is, does LG have a better algorithm for deciding when they are willing to shut it off for the very small dark areas like the QN90A is doing and cutting out that detail? Right. Is LG going to cut out that detail as well, or are they going to go ahead and turn it on and just have that, kind of grayish black around that detail?
Absolutely. I agree. And I also think that, no, we're enthusiasts. We go into the details. And this takes us to what you're starting off with, is comparing the QNED90 to the X95J. Just generally speaking, the technologies, right? So what we have is the QNED90 is an IPS panel, wider viewing angles, but generally lower contrast, lifted blacks. And the X95J will be a VA panel. So in some scenes, the VA panel will have better contrast. Maybe in other scenes, you can't tell the difference. But I don't think there will be in any scenes where the QNED90 will have better contrast than the VA panel. At best, it might be the same. So do you guys have a preference between IPS and VA? Because personally, you guys know I really dislike the IPS panel, but maybe you guys think differently because you guys got gaming in mind.
I think it's very weird that for PC monitors, everyone wants IPS, but then for TVs, everyone wants VA.
It is weird. I'll say, you know what? From a non-gaming kind of guy, I thought that the QN9 or 85A was bright as hell. And I was like, damn, it looked good. It's just that when you kind of go off angle a little bit, it just like fell apart. And, the Q90A was much better in that manner. So I mean, the price was so high on the QN85A, it was like, why even make the TV? That's what I was saying. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so like the thing that really I keep coming back to is when you say the QN85A was almost as bright or like if not brighter than the QN90A perceptually, like you that's what you felt. And I'm thinking like where's that level of brightness where we can't really tell the difference or where it doesn't matter that much. Because when it gets to like 1500 nits, that's bright and like that's super
Yeah.
bright no matter what TV you're looking at. So how can you tell the difference between 1500 and 2000, And maybe a lot of people can't, and that's the thing. So it'll seem like it's almost as bright, if not the same brightness. So
And the one thing I know, Classy, jump in, but the one thing that I noticed on the 85 too is that it wasn't suppressing the highlights, like you just said, Classy. Like it wasn't. It didn't have as good black level, but it was like it just looked brighter in the darker scenes where like it wasn't crushing all the detail.
Yeah. And have you guys seen my recent video about brightness?
I love
I
that
haven't been
video.
on YouTube at all, man. I'm
I've watched
sorry.
it.
I feel bad. I haven't watched any
You've been
videos
editing.
in like the last week.
Yeah. So the main purpose of that video was discussing how we have gotten to when people are saying HDR, Dolby Vision, or OLEDs or whatever are dim and they're not bright. And I mean, if you take if you have two QN90As right next to each other, and you have an SDR movie on one, an HDR movie, or the same movie, same scene on the other, and you've jacked up the brightness on that SDR, the average picture level is going to be brighter than the HDR image. And that's what, if people are upgrading from 5-year-old TVs that didn't have HDR or barely had HDR, but they've been turning the brightness up over the years, or they're people who, they're watching a sports game when they have the windows and the lights on, and then they turn everything off to watch a movie and they don't change the settings, and everything is still super bright for SDR. That's where this perception of OLEDs or HDR as being too dark is coming from. So the other part of that video was 10% windows literally mean nothing when it comes to real content. It's more of the average picture level. Because if you have dynamic tone mapping on, the average picture level goes up and people thinks it looks brighter, but your highlights are actually dimmer. So,
yeah.
I
And by the
couldn't
way-
agree more. Yeah.
So like when that Febreze commercial comes on, I swear that's like 2000 nits, dude. Like
Some of those commercials
when
can
you're
get
watching
crazy
YouTube,
bright,
it's just like
Super bright and super loud.
Yeah,
You got some of
there's
those
a-
audio levels. are crazy.
There's a lot of good commercials that get like you can just like make a video of like content of like B-roll from like the commercials on YouTube because they're brighter than most of the videos.
yeah, so-
Classy,
so
is
bright.
this the LG OLED Black Crush guide? Is that the video you're
yeah,
talking about?
it's older. It's a few days older than that.
Sorry.
It's the
gonna
thumbnail
say-
says is SDR brighter than HDR.
I was gonna say because this
I haven't
OLED
seen that one. I saw the other
that
one. Okay.
C1 G1 OLED Black Crush video is literally the next up video on my feed for this content right here. So that's funny.
Yeah.
There you go, ranking in the YouTube, man.
And to your point, Classy, the one I put up this morning, you have the Sony X90J. It's about as bright as the other two TVs in most of the scenes.
Yep.
And in SDR mode, right? I'm like, wait a minute. This thing, the brightness, I mean, you could literally turn it brighter if you want, the other TVs, but now it's not that much brighter. They were all at 100% brightness in filmmaker movie accurate mode. So it's SDR on the QN90A filmmaker mode, max brightness on the X80J, max brightness in its I think it was like its custom setting, and on the A90J, max brightness movie mode, whatever. And I'm like, wow, in SDR, the brightness wars, it's all the same. Even the budget TV is going to get bright enough. So yeah, I think people, when they talk about brightness, you really have to focus on the HDR side because it will end up being a lower average picture level brightness. I couldn't agree more. And we were talking about zones. Now, I don't know how many zones this is, right? I just throw out 200 zones because I can't imagine the QNED90 having less than 200 zones.
Yeah,
the
there's no way.
QN85A, right, has over 500 zones. The U8G has over 300. Now, the Sony has 60 zones. We know that. But this is going to be fun. Any predictions from you guys? How many zones will the QNED90? You have the 65-inch, right?
Yeah.
Have. So I'll start off. I'm going to predict the same number of zones as the Samsung, between 500 and 600 zones.
So
We're talking the 4K or the 8K?
The 4K.
Yeah, I'd probably say about the same because I'm sitting here thinking, if the 8K 86 has 3000, then you cut it down, and then cut that in half or so. That's kind of where I would put the 65 4K at.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll just take the under then. I'll take under 500 just for shits and giggles. I'm just a gambling man. I'll take the under.
and you may not be wrong. KG,
Yeah.
what about you?
I bet $1. No,
Dude, yeah, I was gonna say that's exactly what I was thinking. This is like Price is Right.
Yeah.
Like so now I have 500, but now I'm in the bad spot because I only that's pretty funny. Good one,
Yeah.
Jack with KG. I love it.
Yeah, he's gonna be $1, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be around the same as a QN85A. I really see them like just being very similar.
Right.
Yeah,
And to compete, go ahead.
I was gonna say, my overall prediction, to me, what the QNED90 needs to do to be a winner is it needs to be the QN85A with the option to make it accurate, or at least be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And LG appears to be doing that more recently, right, Classy? They give you the option to go saturated, dynamic tone mapping, or just pull it back a little bit more accurate. So I respect LG for that. And that goes to the next topic is, okay, so Sony really does want to do that movie theater XR color saturation thing, but it's gaming features, you know what you're getting, right? You're not going to get VRR. You get 4K 120, Dolby Vision limited to 60, but not in game mode. Maybe they'll fix that. And the QNED90, we know will have VRR out of the box, but you still have to choose one or the other. For your uses, do you think this is important at all? Or which do you think is more important? Will the XR color end up pushing more sales towards Sony? Or will VRR be the ones pushing the sales towards the QNED90? Price being even.
I definitely think the QNED90 is going to capture the gamers who are afraid of burn-in. As far as color, QNED90 does have quantum dot, right? The quantum layer. So KG sent me a video last night. That was the 99, right?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was the 99. He had it in Filmmaker out of the box, and Filmmaker out of the box on that one in that video looked like it had LG's typical poor orange color. So like everything was a little orangey.
I'll say this, like that video was really weird because it did have a 4K sticker on it, even though it said the 99.
Yeah, and since we're talking about the housekeeping stuff, make sure you guys smash the like button because now it's 25 and we have 100 people on watching, so that means 75 of you guys are being lazy. So come on.
Yes, please.
We're just joking. I saw Rainer's on here. Yeah, I saw Rainer. I saw Michael Wyckoff. What's up, man? A lot of the guys that are on here all the time. Brad Smith. What's up, guys? I know there's a lot more of you. I can't say everybody's name real quick.
And let us know, is this the pricing range that you guys are in? Because I know a lot of people were very interested in the X95J, but then that puts you square in the QNED90 price point as well. We're talking above 1,500, below 2,000, right? And are either one of these compelling, or are you guys looking at a completely different TV? Not assuming OLED is not in the picture, right? Do you guys have any compelling reasons? Because I mean, I've already committed to the X95J personally because I think that'll be interesting to see how it does. And on the QNED, I'm going to have to side with Brandon on this. I'm more interested in the 99, but that really is expensive for many people. So it's technically not a fair comparison. But are you guys interested in either one of these?
Yeah, I would say, here's the thing. This is my beef with these two TVs. One is the IPS for the QNED 90 4K. That is a concern. I'm just getting it to review to start and see where we go from there. But then on the other hand, you got the X95J with 60 dimming zones, and to be honest, it doesn't sound like it's a whole lot different from the X950H. So unless you need the HDMI 2.1, couldn't you just get that TV and be happy enough? So I don't know. And the fact that the X95J has taken like an extra 6 months to come out when the X90J has already been out for, since the spring, it's just like both the TV, I think we'll have to wait on the X95J, but I'm equally maybe interested or disinterested in both of them.
I had high expectations for the X95J after hearing like all the hype around it for a while. I had really high expectations, but then after seeing like the early Chinese reviews, I'm definitely like let down a lot. And
600 zones would be nice, not 60.
It just doesn't jump off the paper to me like it's something like I'm excited about. And the QNED90 could be really cool if it competes with the QN90A. But other than that, I have low expectations for both of these TVs now, honestly.
Yeah, so I would say the X95J is pretty much, if it is how it was in that review, I would say that it's cemented itself as the poorer performing OLED. It's going to have better blacks most likely than the QNED90, but the QNED90 I'm predicting will be slightly brighter, and the gamer's choice because of VRR and the gaming features and Dolby Vision gaming, assuming that it has that, which I'm pretty sure it will. So I think, again, gamers who are afraid of burn-in are going to go QNED90, and I think anyone considering the X95J at this point is just going to go over to the A80J instead. And then the only people I can see getting the X95J is after it goes on sale, and it's someone who just wants a bright TV for their living room, kitchen, whatever, to watch sports on.
Well, I think, I don't know if this is a decision for people like us, but for you guys, does the difference between the operating systems, you have WebOS and Google TV, does that make a difference for you guys? For me, it doesn't make a difference because I normally, do what I need to do. I don't really care that much about the operating system, but I hear a lot of people talking that, or speaking when they make a decision, if they see an operating system they don't like, they won't even consider the TV. Now, personally, I found the Google TV to be fine, and I find LG WebOS to be fine. I can figure it out. So it's a wash. But what are your opinions on the different operating systems?
Yeah, I'll go first, I guess. I have this really big pet peeve now about the YouTube app needing to have that speed up feature. And I didn't realize I had that until like I didn't have it. So I was like, the only TVs that has it is LG and Samsung. And every other TV manufacturer doesn't have the speed up feature on YouTube.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, as much as I go back to Apple TV all the time, I'm not watching the YouTube app on Apple TV. I'm just not doing it. I'm like, usually if I watch YouTube on TV, it's usually through the internal app. So I definitely like WebOS better than the Google OS.
Which is ironic because you would think Google would support the different speeds, right?
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, that's news to me. That's awesome. Okay.
I like Google OS better, but and I'll say I don't like that neither. I like when you can like have a pop-up, and technically, the Sony has kind of a pop-up from the bottom. If you press like the inputs, the more recent apps are in there. And I'm not sure if LG does that, but I really like the WebOS 5.0 and how like when you clicked the home button, it would pop up from the bottom and we could just like toggle and find something in the middle. So that really is becoming a pet peeve of mine with the new WebOS. So I don't know why. Because I'm used to the Tizen that had that always, where you press the home button, it always popped up from the bottom. So I don't like that I don't like when I press the home button that it takes you off the input you're on. And, so that's just so that kind of makes me not love the new WebOS.
So Brandon, if you, on the Sony or the Google TV, if you go into your apps, you do a long press, you can pin it so that when you bring up that menu, it's next to your input. So if you want YouTube and Netflix or whatever next to HDMI, whatever, you can do that. And then with the WebOS, you can do pretty much the same thing, but you can attach it to one of the numbers on the remote. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's fair. That's fair. But still, just I don't know what it is. It's probably just this quirky thing where you're like, I'd pop it up and I'd hover over the different things and be like, what should we watch? And what should we watch? And then we'd be like, nah, let's not watch anything. Let's just stay here. It's just funny things. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree, though. I hate the pointer. Like, I hate the pointer. That is the stupidest thing. I used to like it when they had the bird. When they had the bird, it was actually kind of cool to bring up the bird sometimes. But, like, after they took away the bird, I was like, this is losing its appeal. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? The bird?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Google TV more than WebOS. I mean, especially when going into the settings, when I'm calibrating and I got to change something on the LG, it's literally menu, and it's so slow.
Yeah.
It's like just so slow.